Hi there, and welcome to another episode of the Clinical Career Collective SOAP News. For those of you who are new to us and our mission, C3 is a professional development community for the mental health professional at large. We are here to support you so that you can learn, advance, and become the clinician the world needs now. You can find us at our website, www.clinicalcareercollective.com, and on our YouTube channel called SOAP News. And of course, we are extending an invitation to you to join our C3 Facebook page at Clinical 2 Professional. That's Clinical, the number 2 Professional, and on LinkedIn at Clinical Career Collective. I am Amity Cooper, your host and creator of the SOAP News. As a trained clinician, I really benefited from applying the SOAP Note method in my practice. So when I started C3, I thought it would be a really fun way to craft a blog series that incorporated the same principles as the handy SOAP Note. What better way to get updates, tips, inspiration, and reviews about relevant, on-point clinical and business topics affecting our industry today. So let's get to it. Today's SOAP Note is all about a workout for your mental health, the ultimate guide to finding balance. Do you often feel like life is pulling you in a different direction? Are you struggling to maintain your balance and get through each day? Goodness knows, it's been very challenging. Maybe you're still sort of suffering from post-pandemic blues, and who isn't? Today, I'm going to lead you through some mental health routines you can do to keep the mind clear and your emotions balanced. I'll also offer some tips on how to find balance in your life with healthy habits, such as eating well, sleeping enough, and spending time on self-care. So let's get into it. Life has never been easy, but the pandemic has caused many new problems. Virtual homeschooling, staying safe, financial insecurity, and socioeconomic hardships have overwhelmed the majority of us. The devastating impact of the pandemic weighs on our collective psyche, and it isn't likely to go away anytime soon. And I quote, "We don't have a vaccine for our mental health like we do for our physical health," says Lisa Carlson, who is an American Public Health Association president and former executive director for Mental Health America. So she continues on to say, so it will take longer to come out of these challenges. Mental health has long been overlooked by society until now. Alerts to our growing national mental health crisis are finally getting its due. Mental health advocates are responding with mixed emotions, however. Honest conversations about mental illness that have resulted from this epidemic have helped to promote empathy and understanding for those with problems like depression and anxiety. And additionally, there are many people who avoid seeking help because of stigmas associated with their illnesses. So breaking these negative attitudes are helping to ensure that they get better treatment when needed. Advocates suggest that to stay on your mental A game, one can incorporate similar kinds of steps into your daily life, just as you would do if you wanted to be physically fit. Adding and creating daily routines like mindfulness practices, staying engaged through hobbies, and reaching out to others are key components to maintaining a rich and mentally stable life. We've come a long way since 2020, and the fact that our mental health services and treatments are easier and more accessible than ever before, there's still a lot of work to be done. It's these prolonged, dragged out feelings of stress and uncertainty that can really push us to a psychological breaking point. Doctors and frontline responders have cautioned us. There is a rise in post-pandemic stress syndrome cases. Similarly to people who have experienced natural disasters and to those who are witnesses to violence and death, often experience higher rates of depression, anxiety, and insomnia. These individuals can't really shake the worry or fear of their trauma that they've experienced and find it is especially difficult to return to normalcy. Sleep deprivation is a serious problem that we're all facing. New studies and reports suggest that without a good sleep hygiene protocol in place, your overall productivity, daily activities, and relationships are compromised. Lack of quality sleep has been linked to long-term mental health issues such as weight gain and heart disease, and even cognitive performance deteriorates without a regular 8 hours a night of good sleep. To combat this issue, we have 3 pieces of advice. Get enough sunlight for your circadian rhythms to stay on track. Establish an appropriate sleep routine that sets you and your body up for sleep each night. And this is essentially turning off devices at least 2 hours before you hit bed. Nightly relaxation techniques like deep breathing and committing to an end of the day mind dump will trigger your mind to relax. It basically says you're done working for the day and now we can go into active recovery. Lastly, watch what you eat before bed because many foods contain sugar that can disrupt the quality of our sleep. Rates of anxiety, depression, and uncertainty have increased for most of us during the pandemic, and they continue to climb as we turn the corner into 2021. And here we are in August, and we're seeing spikes in the Delta variant, which has caused increased dis-ease and triggered fear and alarm for many who continue to struggle with mental health issues. There is a silver lining, however. Growing awareness around mental health has opened up the conversation. Pre-pandemic, folks who dealt with mental hardship tended to keep it to themselves, whether that was fear of judgment, the stigmas that they carried around mental health issues at large, or accessibility to care. Now, mental health is front and center. I mean, it's in the papers every day. Your mental health challenges don't have to stay hidden. Reaching out, talking to others, sharing your experiences brings comfort to us. And one way to cope is to give back. Helping someone else leads to decreased loneliness and isolation. It is a win-win for everyone. So start talking, start sharing, start connecting. If you wait until a major stressor hits to try and bolster your mental health, it's like trying to inflate your life raft while you were already drowning at sea, says Wendy Troxel, a clinical psychologist and senior behavioral and social scientist at Rand Corp. Many people turn towards talk therapy or exercise when they are already stressed out, but having self-compassion is essential to weathering any crisis. Research shows that those who practice self-care often lead happier lives and with more optimism than others in their position of high levels of stress. It is more important to treat ourselves with respect, compassion, and understanding. While concerns for psychological distress during the pandemic have centered mainly on quarantine measures and anxiety management, a study by D. Lyons et al. Predicted a second wave of psychological morbidity due to viral illness may be imminent. People expect you to be sick for a certain amount of time and then you get better. These long haulers, these outliers who have gone months of being sick are well beyond their own expectations or others' expectations of them. There's a real mental health crisis in that. And it is possible to limit how much... Sorry, I didn't want to jump ahead there. So the extended physical and psychological duress that we're experiencing as these people, these outliers, continue to suffer with physical ailments, really adds to this uncertainty in life. And that when we look to those people, we were just unsure about how to handle this. And it really causes, we sort of mirror their distress and we take it on as our own. So with that being said, it is possible to limit how much negative news you consume. All right. So the more we track and the more we try to stay up on the news, we need to sort of watch how we integrate and interact with the information that we are consuming on a daily basis. We need more positive thinking in our lives and less gloom and doom. Overindulging in negative news can cause distress, obviously. It's important to stay informed. However, when you find yourself taking on the woes of the world, it can become toxic and debilitating. Try this instead. Like limiting what foods are consumed, consider a news calorie count and do your best to follow it. Set aside blocks next week where you can turn off your phone, even if it's only for 10 minutes at a time, to say, okay, I'm taking a break, and instead of automatically turning to your phone for news or a social update, turn your attention to going outside, or even staring outside of a window will make a huge difference and give your mind a break on what it's doing. We need that sort of release and respite from the toxic news overload that the toxic news train that we're on. Many people compromise on sleep quantity and quality, but actually it's crucially important. It's a huge important part of our life, and there are numerous studies and research that is going into what and why sleep is so important for us to function properly. As it turns out, adults need 7 to 8 hours of quality and consistent sleep to be healthy. A good way to get this is by following a routine based on a consistent sleep and wake-up time schedule. This will help reduce anxiety in times where there may not always be safety or security around, as well as fostering resilience if things don't work out as planned. You always have sleep, and the more you care and tend to your sleep hygiene, the better you'll be able to deal with life's ups and downs. A great way to develop good sleep hygiene and tracking is to purchase a fitness tracker like the Oura Ring or Fitbit. By incorporating this data into your everyday routine, you'll find that you develop a keen interest in your everyday habits that increase your personal peak performance. And I actually personally I have an Oura Ring, and I have to say I get really into it. I love tracking what my sleep has been. I get a little hit of dopamine every time. It's like you get a win when you realize that you've had a great night's sleep. And that data, that feedback is really essential. It motivates me to keep going. Make some easy changes, such as setting alarms on your phone. Turn down lights 1 hour prior to being ready for sleep, and drinking warm milk with honey or chamomile tea and setting that sort of as a ritual for decompressing every day is a great experiment to see if it works for you. Disconnecting from all technology, even though I just said how wonderful it is to have this Oura Ring on your finger and keeping track of yourself, but really what I'm talking about disconnecting from technology is really all other devices, TV and your iPad and your cell phone. Try minimizing that, and because that blue light that is emitted really is more stimulating than relaxing. Even if your habit is to read before bed, switch to the real deal. Hold the book in your hand, and you'll find that it'll actually help you lull yourself to sleep over sort of stimulating your mind and your eyes before bed by using a device. Set a morning routine. It helps to get up at the same time each day and have a particular morning habit, like a comforting morning ritual. If possible, consider eating meals, starting work, and exercising at set times. So and I can talk more about this later in some other SOAP notes, but being a slave to your calendar is really a misnomer. It's using your calendar to be really, really religious about what's important to you, and having those daily reminders that go off really kind of keeps you in the zone of serving yourself first. This helps create predictability and a sense of control over your life rather than being reactive to what comes up on a daily basis. The best way to win the battle with stress is a combination of managing your time and your mind. Personally, the way I manage my schedule is blocking out non-negotiable activities such as must-haves like meditation, exercise, and time for deep focused work. And I've made my self-care a priority so I can show up rested and ready to go for whatever comes my way. Finding 4 moments throughout each day when you can escape from stresses that are bothering you will help you immensely during tough times. Like breathing exercises, such as making tight fists and releasing them after 10 seconds. Anything that makes you feel more relaxed while not breaking focus on what's going on around you is essential. I mean, deep breathing, like box breathing exercises. So taking a deep breath and counting to 4, holding for counts 5 and 6, and then slowly exhaling from 7, 8, 9, and 10. Inhale again, and just creating this sort of boxed format of time really can instantaneously reset your nervous system. It's fabulous. So I like the idea of the tight fists and holding them and counting to 10 and then releasing. Holding them, counting to 10, and then releasing. Watch your language. This is a great suggestion. The words we use to talk to ourselves matter. Try to reframe pessimistic or distorted thinking to optimistic. For example, this is a challenge, but I can handle it. Or, I'm not so anxious. Also, try to stop shoulding yourself. I would like to, not I should. Remember that we each need to follow our own path, and it may look different from others, so there's no point in making comparisons. Okay, now we're getting into some exercise suggestions. Exercise does not only provide physical benefits, it also provides emotional and mental health support. The neurobiology of exercise is clear. Participating in regular, heavy exercise makes you feel better about yourself by improving your self-esteem and confidence levels. As you exert energy during these activities, blissful levels of anandamide, aka the bliss molecule, are released. This activates our cannabinoid receptors in our brain cells to heighten motivation and happiness. Physical activity also stimulates endorphins and the release of dopamine, norepinephrine, and serotonin, all helping you to alleviate stress and improve your overall mood. And speaking of mood enhancement, a study from the University of Otago found that people who have strong relationships are generally emotionally healthier. This research, which was published in Perspectives on Psychological Science, looked at data collected by Statistics New Zealand and showed that those with better emotional health also tend to live longer than others. The more healthy a person is psychologically speaking, including their mental well-being or life satisfaction, they're less likely to die prematurely. So don't forget to connect even when you're feeling stressed. You might end up feeling the load lightened. Finally, don't forget to remind yourself of all the things and people you're grateful for. And don't forget to let your loved ones know, because it probably will make their day to hear it. That was a ton of information, but I'm going to leave you with this. If you are interested in learning more about the new and cutting edge technologies affecting our mental health practices today, then I'd like to invite you to register for our monthly SOAP newsletter. With this subscription, you will receive a monthly review of all the weekly SOAP notes, gain access to members only interviews and conversations with special guest speakers, and you will have the chance to purchase our monthly soap box that contains products, coupons, and discounts to all our mentioned items reviewed during the Soap Note recordings. Thank you so much for joining me on this Soap Note review. I hope to see you next time. To your clinical success.